Okay, we continue May 1st, 2006. And remember that I will continue this series with. Oh, well, I don't have that. It's a different bookmark that I have in there. But I will continue that series later. And so on May 1st, 2006, I listened to Surah 6 through 8. And I copied out 91448AC. Okay, some manuscript that I was copying. So I read Surah 80 to 84 with the English and commentary. I finished with 46 through 84 listening to at least one version of the Ahmadiyya. Oh, it was an Ahmadiyya reading. So I'm sure it was this volume right here. That green one. And, okay, I watch Penn and Teller's Unorthodox Views. I watch Cryptozoology. I watched World Weddings, The Second Wife. Yeah, most women in the world would rather have the second, third, fourth, or even further on wife that's treated right than the, the only wife and not treated right. Okay. Okay, I listened to Surah 9 through 11, 3, 1, 9, 4, 8, AC A9 copied. I'm not sure what that stands for. Maybe I'll figure it out later. I watched that South Park All About Mormons one. I typically wouldn't say a cartoon, but it's something that's been talked about a lot by people. I watched The Dervis Project, which is a great DVD. I mean, minus having a clip show, I can basically arrange something like that right now and get together a series of paintings and show you the paintings and tell a little story of what I remember. And that's basically what the Dervish Project is. It talks about different states that you go through. I watch Mysteries of the Bible, Judas, The Ultimate Betrayal, or maybe Judas was the one killed. I went over Ma'atwa with someone named Jordan, and I later gave her the nickname, what did I call her? The Princess of Disc, and that has to do with her character, like all my nicknames do. But I was definitely trying to give people tarot nicknames at that point. I listened to Surah, on the 3rd, I listened to Surah 12 through 14, and Liber 15, the Gnostic Mass, twice. Maybe I'll do a little video talking about that, or maybe just go through the Gnostic Mass myself and do a commentary. That might be better, because I don't want to necessarily, their particular musical background that they used. I don't want to violating copyright issues. Copied Sloan 3191. Oh, 48 Claves Angelica 10 through. Okay, now I know what I was doing. That pink book that I have with me sometimes. Sex Ritual of the Occult, minus the scenes. Watched it once through and figure out where the scenes were and just focused on what they talked. I copied down the scenes. But yeah, I you kind of question some of what they have to say, but I wrote down what they had to say. I watched and discussed the British Black Mass, the White Mass, anyways, Satanist, the Devil's Mass. Haven't watched that in a while. Read Surah 85 through 110. I attended the discussing the Holy Quran at the masjid. I don't remember what part here. Oh, 5.87? Was it just one verse? It could have been just one verse. You can have whole conversations about single verses sometimes. I listened to Surah 15 through 20 on the 4th. Sharia Kisugman 10 through 12. And I copied Sloan 3191, 48 Claves Angelica 10 through 13. And so on the 5th of May 2006, I listened to Surahs 20 through 27. I copied Sloan 3191, 48 Claves Angelica 14 through 15. I vibrated the 7th Enochian key, scrying in the East Darkmere. I probably had that big one in the corner there, in the eastern part in that room. 5:41 p.m. to 5:54 p.m. There was a clear haze all around. Flashes of yellow warmth and tears flowed over me. Something was rushing like water before me, but it didn't look like water. I finished Islam Way CD in my sleep. Twice already that month. And okay, I didn't know whether or not my notification for my email was changing things, but on the 6th of May 2006, I listened to Surah 27 through 29, the Sharia Kisugman 12, Gnostic lectures of some sort. I worked on copying Sloan 3191, the 48 Claves Angelica 16 through 18, and the 30 authors. I watched Mysteries of the Unknown Secret Societies. There's a theory that some people put forward about Islam is a secret society. It's like, okay, what teaching was ever secret? Yeah, people had their secrets discussed, but outside of the view of other people. But the teachings were available for all. Search for the Holy Grail, Blueberry Scent Offering. There was different meanings for things. I didn't always write down the meanings I intended, or maybe I was just trying to have an experience and come up with the meanings elsewhere. And on Sunday the 7th, I listened to Surah 30 to 32. And feel free to ask any questions as I'm going over these accounts. Further journals will be more detailed, but or have better handwriting, hopefully. So Gnostic lectures ending 2 through 5. I don't know whether it was a semi-traditional Gnostic group or whether it was an OTO-based thing. I don't know what that series was. But anyways, I was listening to some series. I watched Ancient Mysteries Before Their Time, the first half of it. Oh, the last half of it. Pharaohs and Kings, the first 105 minutes. I have the book here. Pharaohs and Kings. Because there was a book. But trust me, there's a book for that series that is in here somewhere. Oh, is it over here? Yeah, I think it's one of the ones over there. No, it's not. Okay, anyways, I'll get back to that later. I meditated with the end of Surah 30, 31, and 32. And in separate sessions in the 7th solar hour of the 19th of the 4th, the 1427. And to get through a headache and faintness, I had low blood sugar issues. But I still was able to see some purple light, some blue and yellow light, some greens. I did the greater pentagram ritual 3 times. In terms of my migraines, I might as well share here something that would be worth considering because I found it works great. Hawthornberry works and rue. Like nothing the doctors had ever prescribed for me for the headaches, and I didn't need to be stoned or not aware of the headaches and just fall down, because you take away the warning sign of the headache and still have a huge migraine and fall down in public. It's just not something to do. So I gave up on trying to be medicated for these things. I continued from the 10th of the 4th month, the 1427, 12th solar hour. Oh, this was an account that I shared last month, wasn't it? Or it's pointing over to the other page, but a tree that was tall like redwood, yet shaped like a fir. Oh, like a deciduous tree. You know, the ones with the leaves that fall in fall. Was there in white, like, and a purple surrounded this. Someone is insulting me. Something about a purple. It's like, just because I see purple in my dreams sometime, you don't need to do these things. So on the 8th of May, I watched Masters of Darkness, you know, that British Broadcasting Company documentary on Aleister Crowley. I watched Pharaohs and Kings, the last part of it. I watched Rebuilding Stonehenge, Mysteries of the Bible, the Maccabees. And an interesting thing about the Maccabees is that they were the second book of Maccabees is the first historical mention of Judaism. And just like the Mahabharata, which is a lot later than people realize, you don't really have a lot of what you consider Hinduism until that point. And after the Jains, you have a lot of the other Hinduism. So a lot of priestly decided religions they start with the War Chronicle, and Judaism is no real exception. I watched Rebuilding Stonehenge, India, What the Ancients Knew. I listened to Surah 34 through 37. Sorry about the squeak sound of the shoe. Gnostic Lectures on Jung 5 through 7. Okay, that's what I was talking about. Did the Greater Banishing Pentagram Ritual. And by banishing, obviously I mean banishing the forces and energy that I don't want to be part of things. But I'm not one of these people who, you know, whatever is attracted to what I worship, I'm okay. I let it in. I'm not calling up things and then chasing them away. That's kind of silly. And if you've allowed them to have some sort of power over you, it's like, yeah, they're going to leave. That doesn't make sense. I was still working on copying out Sloan 3191. That double side, those 2 big brown volumes, that's supposed to have everything extant that Dr. John Dee wrote down that pertains, actually probably everything he wrote down. So that's a wonderful set of volumes to research all this. So 7:59 to 8:09 p.m., I scryed with the 10th Enochian key into the East dark mirror. I had not the strength to continue. At some point, the room shook. Oh, that's why I cut it off in 10 minutes. The room shook as the presence grew. Above me was brewed, below me was bright. Well, I guess that's unusual, is that above would be darker than below in the vision, but that's what I saw. A red copper colored cloud was over the east wall In it, something moved. It was something related to boot air, the 10th Enochian entity. I mean, the 10th Goetic entity. So there was something related to that. Okay. So on the 9th, I listened to Surah 38 through 43. The Oregonian chants. The Oregonon chants. Okay. Something different. I watched Without Walls, Aleister Crowley, Masters of Darkness, another Aleister Crowley thing, and the other Loch Ness Monster, Greater Pentagram Ritual. I watched a lecture series the other day. Robert E. Howard, H.P. Lovecraft, and Aleister Crowley were those of the subject of it. Robert E. Howard was an individual that in his fiction he was being prompted by something, but he lacked the spiritual awareness. And his hopelessness, that kind of carried on to figures like Howard Philip Lovecraft. And Howard Philip Lovecraft, he had experiences and he was aware of these experiences, but he was just more against religion and didn't really form much of a spiritual path. And he'd be what people call insane that don't know that he just had awareness. Aleister Crowley was somebody who could change his consciousness and live according to his experiences or let them direct them. So, right or wrong, there's some great benefit of a guy who tried to learn and practice from all over the place. On the 10th, I watched Ahimsa, Nonviolence, A History of Jainism. I listened to Surah 41 through 45, the Liber 15, Gnostic Mass 3 times. I stride with the 12th Enochian key in the East Dark Mirror from 5:54 to 6 p.m. A figure shrouded in red held many swords pointing down. It disappeared in a violet-purple flash. And one may remember scenes like that on some of the tarot cards, I guess, is that you have figures holding swords and wands and discs and cups and other things in different arrangements. I went to the discussion of Surah 88 at the masjid. This was 2006, so it was that building with the pink floor in some of the pictures that I have. And from the 11th, I listened to Surah 46 through 57. I finished listening to this Islam Way Quran CD as I slept, and as low as you can possibly understand it with focusing might be a good thing to start with sleep practices and see how what playing in your sleep affects your dreams. For some people, it may make it harder to sleep at first, but when you get used to it, you can sleep easier and you can actually dream about portions that maybe you don't understand because it's, all in a different language, but it's something you read before and your mind connects it when you sleep, or maybe it just, makes it easier to be devoted as you go to sleep and wake up. So I watched the basic Arabic. There was a tape I borrowed from the library to help me learn some words. I finished writing my translations for the sermon in my Black Ritual book. Oh, the Sermon on the Couch. So the Sermon on the Couch, I've done a rough version back in September, I think it was. And that was, the issue of love by and for God. I scried with the 13th Enochian key in the East Dark Mirror, 6:53 to 7 p.m., my face and some of the rest of me shook as the air grew thick and textured. Multicolored, a multicolored cloud enveloped me. The presence has mastered the storm. I wanted to continue, but I couldn't continue. I didn't, you know. So on the 12th of May, I listened through Surah 103. The Quran, the final testament, was something I started reading. So it would have been this edition here. I didn't realize the guy had basically claimed to be a false prophet when I got it. I figured, there's so many different names. Some of them are based in Arabic. Some of them, they're trying to. So I didn't really think of anything. Plus the English and commentary 1 and 2. Oh, yeah, that. Okay, I finished scanning Sloan 3191. And before the Fajr dream, I was checking on something when the door opened I was at Masjid al-Nur. And something was opening the door to go out and down the stairs. Oh, someone was opening the door and go out down the stairs. And so after the dawn dream, something was completed. If your child learned math without you, if your child learns math without you, they are probably gifted. Okay, because in May, obviously, I'm trying to get to sleep after my dawn prayer at some point, which when I'm done with this, that's probably what I will do. And the 13th, that was a Saturday, I watched something countdown. Yes, I've heard of the Nation of Islam. I've read some stuff directly. In the southeast of the United States, in Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, they have a lot of centers. But, they have some centers. But in most of the world, most of the country outside of like Harlem, you really don't have them because they all became mainstream Islamic centers. And I was checking on something. Okay, yeah, that experience I have sometimes out-of-body experiences when I'm meditating. Okay, so the 13th, I watched at least the whole of I'd want to say Count Dracula, I don't know. So Surah 55, 72, 85 through 114, I listened to repeatedly. Did the Lesser Banishing Pentagram Ritual 3 times. I watched the Antichrist parts 1 and 2. I still had TV service at this point. I finished reading Secret Truths by... okay, I didn't know the rest of that. I don't... smoking marijuana is not medicinal. Any medical use is better, including pain relief for marijuana. Now, what people need to do of intoxicants to survive, not just change the way they feel, that's just something that's part of, that's acceptable for survival reasons. It's like you can eat whatever is available if you're just doing it to survive and only what you need to do to survive. Same things with drugs, but just because you just don't, you want to change how you feel, work on your techniques, eat better, focus on your media habits, stuff like this. There's other ways to deal with problems. And okay, 10 to 10:40 a.m. Meditation on Surah 10. And from the 14th, I watched Secrets of Archaeology. Muthos, Disc 1. I don't remember how many on. I think there's 4, 4, and 2. So 4 for the first one, 4 for the second, and 2 for the other. I may be wrong. It's been years since I watched that disc. I read Surah 2, 105, plus the English and commentary. Secrets of Archaeology. Oh, Minoans. Okay. And I listened to that same portion, 55, 72, 85 through 114 repeatedly. And on May 15th, same portion, I read through 210. Well, the thing is that all religions really have of the same truths. You find that God sent messengers, and you also find that the same old devils are bringing up the same temptations over and over again. Yes, our technology is a little different, but let's not pretend that things aren't repeating themselves. I went over chapter 3 with the Princess of Disc there. I watched, what did I watch? Mysteries of the Bible, Moses, Mount Sinai. I meditated in the dark mirror in the east with the 17th Enochian 6:40 p.m. I felt a presence and saw flickers of light. After 5 minutes, I felt weak and laid down on bed with my feet to the west and re-said the Yod hymn and the key. It's me, I saw roaring fires with color and sound. I'm still shaky and entranced. I wrote 102 on my bedtime tote or something. I wrote it down nonetheless. So sometimes my condition has stopped me from doing things, or doing them in ideal form, but even when it comes to regular sorts of things, if you can't get up, you do what you can. No, I don't believe that God incarnated as any male or female. On the 16th, I watched Boy Who Plays on the Buddhas. There was a documentary about the Buddhas that were destroyed by the Taliban after the foreigners who were working on them said that they weren't going to pay their taxes. So to basically, they just wanted something to help out the region, and they were just illegally restoring the statues, and therefore the Taliban retaliated. It wasn't an act of religious intolerance. There was the worship with these icons was stopped, but it was still not something to do. Harun Yahya's Allah is known through creation and decoding the past, Opus Dei. Well, you're limiting your language source. Not like anything in anything is clear in that respect. Another passage is Lakum dinikum wali din. Wait, no, that's not the verse. Yeah. But to you, your source of judgment, to me, mine. Yeah, that's it. So listen to Surah 55, 72, 85 through 114 again. There was a meditation through the Sitra book, Prabhupada, so something I was listening to. When I get to disc 3, Yes, but it's clear in the Quran that that's when these mentions of sight and hands and stuff like this is not as creation. And there's narrations that talk about how it's not, God's not doesn't have one-eyed, and he's not left-handed and that sort of thing. So it's like the footstool. The talking about the footstool, greater than more vast than the heavens and the earth, and the lowest of the heavens is the one with the stars, and these other stellar bodies we see. So we're obviously talking about something very beyond that. On the 17th, I watched Harun Yahya, Love and Cooperation, Living Things, Ancient Mysteries, Dream Time of the Aboriginals. I have a couple books on the Aborigines, I think. Exploring the Unknown, Astrology. Listen to Sohotra Probha 2 and 3. The Tibetan Book of the Dead, Part 1. I wrote Maditnut Ma'at Wa in the Pink Ritual book. And I listened to Chapter 1. I listened to Spirituality Beyond Religion, Side A and B. This is probably my first exposure to the great courses. And I finished listening to the Islam Way Quran in my sleep. And what is that notes? Oh, the Templar Code. I also watched the Templar Code, trying to fit everything in these little spots. So the 18th of May, 2006, Ancient Mysteries, Petra. Who wrote the New Testament? I laid down vibrating the 19th Nokian key with Zax, so the 10th Enochian author, 10:31 to 10:56 a.m. That doesn't pan out. All sources say otherwise. This is just a theory of somebody who says some of the linguistics. You could easily just say, well, maybe he was from Yemen because because the Arabic language required mixing from Yemen, or maybe Egypt. There was parts of Egypt and Persia, their language came in too. There were different figures, but Muhammad ibn Abdullah, being the Muhammad that I'm sure you're referring to, is different than the one who lived hundreds of years before in Petra in a whole different language. There's no evidence that Muhammad spoke the Nabatean language. No, all the very early ones do point towards Mecca, but you do see ones where you have two Qiblas, and it points straight towards Jerusalem because the command was initially, the ritual prayer was in that direction. And Palfax, the heart of the Holocaust. Yeah, I can personally debunk a lot of that whole argument. So I read Surah 211 through the end of Surah 2 with that English commentary of the forbidden Rashid Khalifa translation there. I watched Enigma, Miracles, and Harun Yahya, Deep Thinking. Now, I'm not supporting the womanizing and the drugs and stuff that he's later been accused of. On the 19th, I watched Taboo, Voodoo, Behind the Scenes, and Harun Yahya. What did I watch of him? I'm not sure. Okay, I listened to Spirituality Beyond Religion, See Through something, Tibetan Book of the Dead, 1 through 3. Bardo's is more like it. I guess you don't have to be dead. Behind the Scenes of the World Wars with Harun Yahya. I watched Behind the Da Vinci Code. I mean, 2 pages of supposed fact mixed into a big old book, And I mean, Little House on the Prairie is more real. Well, as described in such volumes as this, and Bukhari Muslim and Shia sources and stuff like this, bid'ah is the changing of the faith. It's not doing something new. According to what the Prophet himself said, is what is narrated, is that that which is not of, anybody who does something new that is not part of the faith will have it thrown back on them like a dirty rag. And, those who's thinking of themselves as basically like that, so basically you just have to be guided. You don't say that the extra prayers at night during Ramadan are required. You don't say that the recommended prayers before or after the requirement are required. You don't change. You don't say what's lawful is unlawful and what is unlawful is lawful and that sort of thing. So dividing the second R recommended after Vedic presence. Okay, the room filled with whitish light. Of course not. If you want to do something voluntarily and it doesn't violate the rules of religion, how can you say that it's unprecedented sort of thing? You do see narrations that, well, some of the prophets did make circles and stuff like this. So, why not? But it's not you don't change its condition. So during the second round of recommended after, okay, this was, I went to the masjid, saw something. And if you remember that shirt, this is the experience that it was on. I saw whitish light, and appearing over my prostration point after, okay, so a light beam with many layers, 888 maybe, and more than a couple days. So there was square, fold, square, fold, square was the shape of it, and it was 4 feet to 4.5 feet tall. And I listened to Bloodlines, Emma, I don't know what that says. So I went to the Martin Luther King Jr. sermon, and I discussed with Mike, but I went to this is Friday the 19th. So this is what happened to me after. And there's other experiences, particularly Friday in the congregation or in Ramadan during the greater prayers that I share in some of these. And actually, no, Ahmed ibn Hanbal was the person who narrated that. There's a difference between what people there's sometimes a difference between what is narrated 200 years later and what is narrated later. A lot of things were said to either lift up people's position later or whatnot, but generally there's good information. But Ahmed ibn Hanbal couldn't remember where this narration was. He said that Surah 33 was almost as big as a Baqarah. It had like 200 verses instead of the less than 100 that it has now, and it had stuff about stoning and some other stuff, and stoning and breastfeeding and stuff like that. But it's also apparent that other narrations, not only does that not mesh with what we know about Quran and its early manuscripts, which have no, anything that you look at from that first 500 years to the letter, it's going to be the same. And I know there are dialects, but you're not going to find different verses and different, you don't find that stuff. And the language doesn't match any of these claims. You look at the way the language weaves from one part to the other, you don't find that. So, I mean, if it was the case, it was the case. But people wanted to follow the Christians and the Jews, and they had a verse about stoning. So therefore, in the Bible, if people stone people to death, and if previous nations stone people to death, people think, oh, this is the rule now. But after Surah 24 and 4 were learned by the people, this was not something that they even thought of doing. And there's even narrations where later generations question, it's like, what about Surah 24? What about Surah 4? So that's not what's going on there. So on the 21st, I watched Da Vinci's Last Code, Decoding the Past. Oh, the Bloodlines. Okay, the Bloodlines series. Again, the Da Vinci Code was a big thing. And in the East Dark Mirror, okay, this was a meditation with the Zax. In the East Dark Mirror, I saw yellow, dark red, and blue. The mirror shrunk in and out. I mean, this is not the mirror physically shrinking and disappearing, but this is what I saw. And it made me feel something floody, if you can see that. And among lightning clouds and psychedelic were very buzzy and right, tear flowing, buzzy away. Okay. Led victory, put rise, appears in circle, whom's my head, limiting parts. Oh, okay, that was the context. The author of a great name. Okay, from the 21st, that Sunday, 3 p.m. to 3:19 p.m., I scribed with the Call of 30 Authors Zax, and I guess that was the experience that I was writing following that. Unmanifest, manifesting, the manifest, maintainer, demanifesting, destroyer, out, Brahma, hold, Vishnu, in, Shiva, and a series of letters. Okay, what are these series of letters? Yama, pa, ka, oh, ko, ma. Oh, Ixarp, Hakoma, Nanta Biatone. Okay, the Black Cross. I watch Harun Yahya's The Collapse of Atheism, Science of the Bible, The Real Mary Magdalene, and okay, yeah, I was trying to copy out the Black Cross. I kind of messed up with this table here. I'll have to redo that. So on May 22nd, I listened to the Tibetan Book of the Dead, Supa, Spirituality Beyond Religion, H through L. Okay, what is I watch Harun Yahya, Deep Thinking, Mysteries of the Bible, Creation, Digging for the Truth, America's Pyramids, and I typed out last week's Significant Visions. So I listened to the A and B of the same. Okay, maybe. So on the 23rd, there was Mysteries of the Bible, The Last Supper, Harun Yahya's The Order of the Heavens, Islam and Buddhism, the philosophy of Zionism. I discussed last week's visions with Mike. There was a blueberry scent offering, 45.6813 north, 112.728. So Vancouver, Washington, 45.6098, 112.728 is Pendleton. So I was saying the difference between Pendleton, Oregon and Vancouver, Washington. And on the 24th, I finished listening to the Islam Way Quran CD in my sleep. I listened to Tibetan Book of the Dead 5 and 6, Yoga 2 and 3. Oh, maybe I had those 3 yoga CDs at that point. What was the name of them? So I watched The Power of Myth 1 and 4, Mythology of Star Wars. I wrote out and I attended the discussion on Surah 90 at Masjid An-Nur, and I wrote out the words to Mu'at Chapter 3, which is a series of 5 visions that I had. And I watched Penn and Teller's Miracles. I listened to Yoga of Sound. Yoga of Sound, that's what it's called. And on the 20th, I read appendix to something. 7 to 29. Oh, the appendices in that Rashid Khalifa translation and commentary, which apparently needs over 500 narrations. Don't read the narrations, don't read the historical narratives, but I'm going to require 500 to write my book, but I'm going to claim it's coded in. Yeah, no wonder why people figured it out after he died and basically started a mainstream masjid. So on the 25th of May, we had listened to the Tibetan Book of the Dead, Vincent Price's something about witchcraft, probably. So the 3:53 to 11:50, to 4:50 p.m. on that Thursday. I can't really see that too well. I probably trick greens with gold, something. Well, there's an interesting illustration of what I was doing nonetheless. I laid down to meditate on the yoga of sound, and this is what I saw and felt here. White flowers, yellow flowers, across a deep blue, like at least a blue. And 6 is, I woke at 8:18 a.m., after my first sleep, to the voice of an old crackling Arabic voice, Assalamu alaikum, and no one was there. I listened to the Yoga of Sound, A and B, the Shariat Ki Sugmad, 1 through 3, and I meditated on the Yoga of Sound, Disc B, 5:13 p.m. to 6:10 p.m., and kind of coned upwards. An electric feeling, psychedelic clouds, flows, and flicks of clouds. There was a bright light. I watched the Da Vinci Code, and I finished writing Ma'atwa. And on the 7th, the Islam Way, 2/3 into that CD in the sleep, and I read Appendix 30 to, I guess, the end. I watched The Unexplained, of the Mark of an Onubia, the Forgotten Kingdom. I said Supah with Father a couple times. Around 4:20, I was vibrating mantras at the Lloyd Center. Children passed by to curve into my direction. A cloud of even, I stopped to listen to these move through. Okay, so yeah, you very quietly chant in public, and sometimes things happen, particularly with children and animals. Archon hacks. Well, as a paper that I'm writing is basically when you take charge of your spiritual life, you are sort of your own ruler. an archon's just a ruler. So the archon, but we don't have to, we don't have to worship a bunch of rulers of the planes and all that sort of stuff. Oh, that was an insult, maybe. Okay. So on the 28th, I listened to the Shariat Kisugman Book 1. Oh, I started doing that for my sleep. And I dreamt of a level 5 hurricane of 175-mile-an-hour winds rising in a direction unknown, something on a midday. So I dreamed about hurricanes, huh? So what is this note over here? The Travel Channel's The Holy Grail was something that I watched. We have the OTO sort of arrangement. The Lahma. Oh, okay. Well, I misunderstood. But yeah, my channel's about taking charge of people's spiritual lives. In the north, we have Lastal and Agapa. Oh, Agmon in the west, and Theoth in the south. Yeah, it's very important to think about how we sleep. I did a spiritual science of sleep or religious science of sleep video years ago, and that video basically talks about how not to have nightmares, and you can something that you can, what you meditate and what you do before you go to sleep affects your dreams. Ancient sleep patterns. Well, we're primates, and what's healthy for us is this time of year. If I'm allowed to, I like to get all my sleep between dusk and dawn. You can get up, do a little ritual, go to sleep, and or do some spiritual acts in the middle of the night, and still get all your sleep between dusk and dawn, and otherwise. But in times like this, like in June and May, well, I'm not going into June in this video, but we have, a dusk prayer, say the dusk prayer or whatever, and go to sleep, and then wake up at dawn, and then stay up to sunrise, maybe a little more, get some stuff done, and then go back to sleep. Some people may need a afternoon nap, and that's fine. So, after lunch or something. So these are sort of ideal ways to sleep. This is how people have the most energy. I mean, I used to not sleep like this at all, and I used to no way thought that I would be getting up at dawn every day. But honestly, I sleep better, and you don't need to sleep as much when you sleep in 2 to 4 periods. And okay, so on the 29th of May, I watched International Profile, Ayatollah Khomeini, and made a blueberry sin offering. I went to a sabr, which is in Austria. Where is it? Is it Hillsborough? No, it's Hillsborough. Another one. It's on the hill in the Portland area, but it actually looks like a masjid. A lot of them, it's not obvious, but it has a minaret that they don't use. At least I don't think they ever use it. But it's why is there a decoration like that? But I went to Pal's to buy Qurans to give out for dawah. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that people can't do right because of, once they get up for dawn, that's it. But if people skip watching the news and go to bed, instead of staying up half the night to watch shows and news and stuff, you can catch the news on your phone or something anytime. You don't need to watch hours of the stuff a day. From 3 to 3:37, I read, plus the English and commentary to something. Okay. What makes a religion unique? what makes them all the same? So I write down questions. So listen till Surah 4, and I took notes on Maimonides' Guide of the Perplexed, pages 99 through 108, and that was done on the 30th of May, 2006. Are heaven and hell real places? What is the meaning and purpose of life? Did I live before this life? And the 31st May, which is the last thing I'm going to share on this video, unless there's a comment or question. The Shariatullah, the middle path law, and the Nabiyullah, the exemplar prophets of God, are 2 words to remember. I probably wrote that down because I should start using those, because words like prophet and stuff like this are not understood by people. Sharia and jihad and stuff, they mean something different in English than they do in Arabic. Surah 5 to 6, and I listened to, and I watched something about Moses. Oh, Secrets of Lords. Secrets of the Waters of Lords. One of the biggest pilgrimages in the world is to this place called Lourdes. And that, I guess, is the end of that for today. And as I said before, I will read and try to correct and comment from the Egyptian Heaven and Hell when I'm done sharing this journal. And the Gate of Akabi is where I will continue off when I get into that series. But it's probably going to be a week or so into January before I get to that. And I want to see about going to sleep again.